channel. If this is your first time here, hello, my name is Mika. Thank you so much for stopping in. So today let's just talk about extending grace to your teenage children. I understand that that's the time where sometimes you tend to butt heads with your teenagers because they're in a transition situation. They're not quite kids anymore. They're not adults yet. So sometimes it does get a little, like sometimes it's like you just like want to pull out your hair. But in those times, what you have to do is you have to have more mercy, have more grace. Sometimes we go off on our kids. Sometimes we may even shut down. I mean, I don't know what you do, but there are times where I get so angry, I just shut down instead of talking about it, or instead of just extending that grace, extending the grace to say, you know what, I understand. And I think when our teenagers hear us say, I understand, I've been there, I've done that, instead of just yelling, why did you do that? That's stupid. Or, you know better. I told you when I was that age, I did this and this, so you should know. Then it helps them feel more comfortable to talk about things and to say, you know what, I know that wasn't right. And it makes it where you guys have clear communication, and they feel safe talking to you, coming to you and telling you things, sometimes even more than what they would tell their friends, because they trust you, because they know that you've been through it before. And I know sometimes, we like to say that, well, they seen what I went through and I told them what I've been through, and leave that off the table when you're dealing with your teenager, especially if there's something, maybe they're acting up in school, or maybe they're not doing well in school, or maybe they're hanging out with bad friends, or maybe, they're in bad relationships, whatever it is. Stop trying to make them you, so that you can have that room for growth and have that room for discussion. Like, they're not you and you're not them. And I think that's one of the things is so hard for us to understand. Just because you had your children does not mean that they are you. And we have to understand and respect the fact that our kids, they have their own minds. Instead of getting upset, instead of being frustrated, instead of yelling, instead of, whatever you do that may be negative, that may be pushing your teenagers away, just help them understand. I understand what you're going through. I've been there before. And then listen to what they have to say. How did you feel when this happened? What is your thoughts on it? Do you think that that's something that you would want to continue doing? Do you think that's a good idea? Even if there's nothing wrong going on, but they're just like so confused on what am I supposed to do? I don't know what I want to do for college. I don't know if I even want to go to college. I don't like school. I don't really want to make friends. I don't want to do anything. Those are times too where you should just sit and listen and see what may be going through your teenager's mind, because sometimes a lot of things you're just not going to know. That's human nature. Even with us as adults, you may have a spouse right now and you don't tell your spouse everything. You say that you do, but honestly, there's a lot of things emotionally or mentally that you may encounter that you don't talk to your spouse about. You may talk to your friends, you may talk to a counselor, but you won't talk to your spouse about. So remember that your children are human too, just like you. So there's some things that they're just not going to tell you. But you always offer a fair playing ground for them to come and talk to you on. You don't want to scare your children away. Because remember, they're still in the mind of a kid, but they're getting older. They don't know how they're supposed to be. They don't know, okay, what am I supposed to do now? I'm at this strange spot, especially if they don't have other teenagers around them, like you don't have any other kids, maybe they don't have any cousins around their age. Sometimes they just feel alone, like they're in that spot where they just don't know what they're doing. And we've all been there. And I think sometimes when we get so frustrated with our children, we tend to think about what we used to do. I used to do this at that age, and so they're behaving this way, so they must be doing what I used to do. Or they must be trying to be sneaky and lying. Sometimes it's really innocent, and it just looks that way because you still have things that you haven't forgiven yourself for, so you're bleeding onto them and making whatever you did in your teenage years something that that they're doing, and it may be far from what they're doing. They literally could be telling you the truth. It just may not make sense. I've had that happen a few times where my child come to me and tell me things last minute or something, and this does not make sense. And I'm like, really, what are you doing? Because I know in my teenage years I was sneaky. So sometimes I tend to forget to extend that grace and extend that mercy and have some trust, because I automatically assume that just because I did this, that's what my kid is doing. And it's not always the truth. Sometimes it's the truth, sometimes it's not. But that's when you have to give some room, you know, give a little bit of rope for them to hang themselves. Then you can say, okay, you know, but you know, if you don't trust it, you just extend a little bit of rope, a little bit of grace, and just watch and see. And then if you find out something differently, then you can say, hey, I tried to trust you on this, but I can't, you know, or I don't feel comfortable with this because you showed me X, Y, and Z, or whatever. But jumping to conclusions automatically is just what's going to make your kids shut down. And then you don't know. Teenagers are so hard. And that's what I was just talking to my daughter about. It's so hard. I remember my teenage years, and I remember how lost I was. Even in my 20s, I was lost. So I know for a fact it all started in my teenage years when I was confused and I didn't know which way I was going in life. And then everybody's like so excited about me graduating to get out the house, and I don't even know, like, you want me to get out the house and do what? Like, I don't even know if I want to go to college. I don't know what I want to go to college for. I don't like school. I just, you know, the friends that I have, you know, they're not really friends. You know, as soon as they get a boyfriend, I don't hear from them. People are being, you know, rude and disrespectful to me in high school. It's just all over the place. And those were some of the hardest times for me. And those were some of the times I just felt like I couldn't be honest with my mom. I couldn't be myself because I didn't know who myself was. I didn't know, like, if I was acting like a child, then I was acting immature. If I was trying to be more adult-like, then, oh, I need to stay in a kid's place because, you know, you're not grown yet. It was just so confusing. And so I try to take a different approach with my child just because I understand it. And sometimes it drives me crazy because it's like you're trying to help them to grow into young adults, but you're also, you don't want to do it too fast. And that's confusing. So, like, put yourself in that situation where you're trying to help your teenager to, you know, to grow up, but still focus on they're not grown yet. And I guarantee you it's hard. It's like, what's okay, what's not okay, what's doing too much, what's babying them too much, what's, you know what I'm saying? So imagine what their minds are going through. You've been through it before. So you know the things that could happen in your teenage years. You know the thoughts, the feelings, the desires, all that kind of stuff. They don't. They're new to it. And so I think we just have to remember that. We have to remember that, you know, our teenagers are just us when we were younger. And it doesn't mean that they should know better because you told them your stories. No, that's not what that means. It just means that the same struggles you went through, they may be facing it as well. And if it's not the exact same things, it's something. It's just hard. It's difficult. It's stressful. And then, you know, those are times when they're still, you know, growing into themselves. So sometimes they're still the ugly duckling, let's say. You know, it's just a lot of things that they're going through, and it's just sometimes they just want to just hide underneath the shell. And I think that we just have to make our home a safe space for our children to come talk to us. Even if it's difficult, even some of the stuff that your kids tell you, you just want to be like, I cannot believe you just told me that. But that's good. If they're telling you things that makes you kind of shocked, but you still keep your cool, they're going to feel more comfortable to continue to talk to you about it. Even if it makes you uncomfortable, you have to learn to sit through it because it's the only way you're going to know anything. If not, you know, that's how a lot of teenagers are running away and on drugs. They're sexually active and, you know, they're seeking love from other places because they don't feel like they have it at home. They're in gangs, they're fighting, they're, you know, stealing, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's because they just don't feel like they have the attention or the love at home. So we just have to make sure that we're giving that to our teenagers, even if it's difficult, even if it makes you uncomfortable. It's not about you. Like, you just have to realize that these are young adults. You know, we have to stop trying to baby them, stop trying to keep them in a little box. These are young adults. And okay, let's be a little bit more mature. Let's talk about a little bit more mature things now. Don't just, oh, you better not talk to me about that. You better not try this. You better not. Like, no, is this on your mind? Is that something you want to try? Like, talk to me about it so we can talk about it first, so we can get you the help you need, so we can get you the protection, whatever. Not saying that you condone them doing anything, but it's better that you know versus not knowing, and then something bad happens. So, y'all let me know what you think in the comment box below. It's just my little talk, my little pep talk about, you know, dealing with your teenagers and extending that grace. And like I said, this is for me too. it's every day it's a struggle. So you're not alone if you're struggling in this area. So yeah, let me know what you think. We'll keep the conversation going and we'll talk next time. Bye.